sometimes I be having doubt because a lot of people don't be giving me my credit. I don't think a lot of people see, like, the boxing fans in the boxing world don't see my my boxing skills. They think that I just come in there and look for knockouts, and that's not the case. I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
Welcome to BodyWork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to BodyWorkBoxing. I want to talk about Gervonta TankDavis. You know what I'm saying? I want to get into some Gervonta TankDavis and what's next for him. Definitely up there, probably my favorite fighter, hands down, everybody knows it. And it kind of seemed like I might have got away from doing content on him. It's just because when you got a bullseye on you like Tank, a lot of times when you put out information on Tank, people just want to argue that, he's fighting nobody and this, and this. But it is what it is. So I try not to be salacious. I don't really do a lot of material on him, with a lot of the stuff that people saying and doing, because much like Floyd said, man, he catch a lot of flack for being affiliated with Floyd. Even when he tried to spread his wings and do his own thing, everybody kept saying he's only got this because of Floyd. But the bottom line is, man, the man can put butts in seats. He has pound for pound talent. Teddy Atlas had already called it out years ago, that he was already on a pound for pound, but for some reason, Gervonta TankDavis eludes a lot of people's pound for pound. That's why I say a lot of people's pound for pound is garbage. You have a fighter that has never won a championship belt, has stayed in one division the whole time, and he's above, on somebody's list, he's above a guy who only been in one. He's only been in one championship bout and defended it for undisputed. Or you have a guy like Naoya Inoue who's been in multiple weight classes, working on his 5th division, about to get his 2nd undisputed. And you have somebody that doesn't have any of that, that's on the pound for pound list, but then Gervonta TankDavis doesn't make a pound for pound. Shakur Stevenson doesn't make a pound for pound. It's like, they're not drug cheats. They haven't done anything because a lot of people like to move the goalposts. They're not heavyweights, but they don't make the pound for pound list. However, I believe that Gervonta TankDavis, if he were to have any one of them undisputed, had he just fought George Kambosos and got the belts and defended it like that, people would probably be saying he's number 1 pound for pound. Right now, the dilemma with Tank is, does he continue to go for currency or legacy? Now, we know Floyd's green print is about currency. And every boxer in the world can say that, oh man, I want to fight, I want to do it. But we've seen where fights have broken apart. Like Pedraza not going for that belt that Regis had, citing money. Oh man, I could make more money than I could just do that. Devin Haney and Shakur saying, oh man, Devin Haney wanted 75% and Shakur wanted a little bit more than 25% or just wanted a fair deal. That didn't happen. But people can pick, choose, and refuse when they want to acknowledge that at the end of the day, these boxers get hit in the head for a living, and their main goal is to make as much money and to set themselves up for after boxing as possible. With that being said, Gervonta TankDavis, according to what I've seen most recently, he's made like $171 million in revenue. It's kind of hard to kind of say or tell somebody that has an organization like that, much like how people were trying to tell Earl, and he ultimately did it against their will, to give somebody 50% or to come down or to really, diminish your income abilities because of what somebody else wants to do. So as a Tank fan, I find myself in a dilemma like, if I look at PBC's track record, these guys already pretty much know the names about 3 fights out, barring any shakeups or wins and losses, things that happen outside. But they kind of know the trajectory and where they're going, much like Jermell Charlo reminded us that he knew about this fight with Canelo Alvarez a while ago. He had already started preparing, preparing himself to actually do it. So who am I to argue with the trajectory and the plans that they have for Gervonta TankDavis? I think he's a top dog, you know what I'm saying? He's must-see TV. He often gets discounted as only being a knockout artist because he's 29-0 with 27 knockouts. And it's only 2 guys that actually survived a full fight with Gervonta Davis, and that is German Mirage, and that was a 6-round fight. And Cruz, even though he did go on to drop German Mirage, Cruz is the only guy that Tank has ever fought and not stopped, dropped, or knocked out. That's pretty impressive. And he's put the blemish as far as undefeated on a lot of up-and-coming, fighters, a lot of champions, a lot of people that he'll just never get the credit for. But right now, what's boxing credit? When you can put butts in seats and you can earn the revenue. So it's clear that the business and the powers that be have Tank on a trajectory to where he's going to fight and get the bag. Whatever fights make sense that equate to him actually getting the bag, that's what he's going for. Again, he could have knocked out George Kambosos. He could have went over to Australia and took them belts. Would we be arguing what he was if that were to happen? Would we be arguing if he's pound? But just because he has a secondary belt, he doesn't get that. So as a fan, I'm like, When I sit back and I look at it, I say, man, I believe Tank can beat a lot of these guys. Almost all of them within reason. I would have even entertained him jumping up to 2-weight classes to go and test something out. I would have approved it. I would have said, hey man, if you feel like you can do that, I would have co-signed it. I would have said, hey, go do it. I understand that we all know, or a fighter knows what they're capable of more than what we know. So a couple things with Tank, and as a Tank fan, some things that you got to deal with, right? You got to deal with the fact that historically, a lot of people are going to say, oh man, you missed the Lomachenko era, right? They're going to say, oh man, you kind of missed the Tio era, even though there are glimpses of that fight coming up and being talked about. I wasn't advocating, or I got off it because I was a big Teofimo Lopez fan before this recent thing, and what he said when Tank was locked up about the DSLs and all that. It's just like some things, and I did a lot of, basically trying to support and arguing over Teofimo and the talent that he has. So if that fight would have happened, I would definitely like to see it, but I don't no longer like jump out there and push for Teofimo Lopez. He has to clear it up. He said some things about people that look like me as well that he hasn't cleared up, and I'm like, what I look like defending or fighting or trying to, talk to other boxing fans or even promote a fighter like that who would say such a thing. Anyway, I digress. I would say at 35, you missed the Lomachenko era. You missed the Teofimo Lopez era. Devin Haney had the belts, and everything I see pretty much is going to say, hey, look, unless he's going to go get this Regis fight out the way, and if he comes away with the victory, he might entertain it, but then he might get on some hold. Look, man, I know you A-side and all that, but I'm not coming back down there. That's what I have my sights on. That's what I actually believe. I don't think Devin's coming back down. But in history, in the history books, you're gonna be saying at 35, you missed out on Loma, you missed out on Tio, you missed out on Devin, and now we back. It's almost like starting over because even though Shakur is a multiple weight, this is his 3rd weight class, and he's a multiple division champion, a 2-division champion, and a silver medal Olympian. Even though that's happening, they're discounting him because he only had fought Yoshino at 135. So then you look at the landscape of it, you end up with a Cruz. You starting to hear more about Frank Martin. Some of the names, little glimpses of a Zepeda. And of course Lomachenko, who I think Lomachenko only had his eyes set on actually getting a belt, and now that it doesn't look like he's going to get a second chance at Devin Haney, it looks like he's not even going to fight Shakur Stevenson, which I thought ultimately we would get. I don't really care if Shakur Stevenson fight Lomachenko. I just really want the creme de la creme, but the politics is getting in the way. So when I look at it, it's like, the suits are basically saying that the Devin Haney fight isn't ready. Now, whether he'll fight him after Regis, or if he get past Regis, what'll happen between him and even if Regis you know, if we're able to get the best of Devin Haney, may possibly knock him out. Would that fight be attractive at that point, since Tank has stepped up to 140? But the fact that he stepped his foot up to 140 and shown that he can do it, and his coaches, Coach Kenny specifically, said that we're above and below, meaning that we can fight above in the weight class above and the weight class below. I have to stand on that as a Tank fan. I have to hold the feet to the fire, because I'm like, look, if you can go up there for Mario Barrios, if you can get it on for that, even though you say you're not comfortable, because I believe that it ain't really fair. Anybody at Tank right now at 135, even though he's a smaller man, because of his capabilities, it's not really fair for him to fight nobody at 35. So if it's not really a big name for me as a fan and somebody, a fellow Baltimorean, I'm going to support. You'll never hear me trashing my fighter unless something crazy happens. You'll never hear me trash him. Why? Because he went from actually being able to get a GED, coming out of high school, pursuing his career, getting a GED, to being, you can argue whether or not he's the face of boxing. He avoided a lot of statistics, and yeah, there might have been some off the field run-ins, but he's doing a lot for the community. Can you say that your favorite fighter has been as active as TankDavis in these last 3-4 years? What about this year? He's already fought twice. He did a jail stint for 44 days, came back and put on the GTD challenge and put on Coach Kenny's daughter and a showcase of that, along with Jalil Hack, a bunch of fighters from this area, giving back to the community. He's saying that's what he want to do. You'll never hear me disrespect him. You'll never hear me go against anything that him or the Rise or any of them guys have going on. As a fan doing content, it's like, it's hard to talk about Tank because everybody wants to say that he hasn't fought anybody. I'm ready for him to just pop the lid off. I'm ready for him to just start really like just picking out the best and just knocking them out, or at least getting in the ring, or at least showing that, hey man, we won it. But you cannot argue with the suits when it comes down to the making money. So we're in a quandary as Tank fans. We are subject to the same thing that Canelo fans might have been subject to, whereas it's not really who wants to fight Canelo Alvarez. It's who Canelo Alvarez wants to pick. You don't choose Canelo Alvarez choose you. And that's what we have to deal with as Tank fans. You don't really choose TankDavis. TankDavis choose you. As a diehard fan, it's like, man, at the end of the day, I wanted to see him fight Devin. You know, I can't knock Devin down. He's going to fight Regis, but I wanted to see him fight Shakur. I can't knock it because Shakur's over there top rank, and the energy kind of changed. It kind of flip-flops here and there, knowing that there's different sides of the street, different promotions, knowing that you might not be worth the ass as far as money-wise. All the things that I don't like to get into. I do know one thing, that TankDavis is the man inside the ring. I stand by it. You know, I give him a shout out against anybody that him and his camp decide, hey, you're next. You know, anybody that they get in the ring with, I give him a shot. That's my guy. So we really don't know. I'm hearing that it's Cruz. I mean, the way I look at it is like, he gave us 2 fights this year. He set it off with Ryan. Everybody had Ryan up on their list because there's a lot of people that want to actually take the O from somebody. I think a lot of people are pretty jealous that he was able to take that O from Ryan, you know, and make as much money. But it also started a snowball effect that we have now, which is ultimately leading us up to getting Jamel and Canelo. It may have impacted the Bud and Spence fight that we got. You know, some of these fights we were supposed to get a Stan Giannis and Virgil, but Virgil done pulled out 3 times. You know, but it was a snowball effect for the boxing world to show these fighters that, hey, because gotta remind you, because everybody like to say belts matter in this point, and belts matter don't. Let's take a note. Rolly has a belt, but remember, the fight between Gervonta TankDavis and Ryan Garcia, the only thing that was on the line was a WBA regular. Because Devin Haney had all the other belts, and it still was able to garner that much attention, and it was still a high-octane fight while it lasted before Tank decided to end the contest. You can say what you want about him, but PBC, Floyd and them, Al, they all have a plan. The camp, they all have a plan. And we're pretty much at a time right now where we got to pretty much just wait and see what happens. You know, I know they were entertaining the fight with Naoya anyway, or saying that a lot of people online was actually entertaining it, but LB came down and was like, no, that's ridiculous. Bob Arum came out and said, no, that's ridiculous. You know, that man is in his 5th weight class, and then he had to move up like 3 more just to see Tank. So I think that a catch weight at 130 would be best for that fight. If that didn't happen, I would think that that fight was unfair. You know, because Coach Kenny did say Tank can go down or up. I do know the man just did a jail stint. He got out. He's probably enjoying his families. I'm hearing that it's Ice Out Cruz. I'm not a fan of that fight, but I do know that, you know, irregardless of the 6th-round fight with Mirage when he actually survived, Cruz is the only guy that actually survived and actually made it in a fight with Tank. So I'm guessing it's unfinished business. You know, I'm ready for him and Shakur, him and Devin, him and Gary Antoine, him and any one of the champions at 140. I don't want to see the Rolly fight again. You know, ultimately, you know, him and Frank Martin. You know, Coach Kenny said that that's a very dangerous guy. They got to get him while it's early. He's still developing. Okay, well, you mess around and let him develop some more, then either way, at some point in time when the cream rises to the crop, I'm ready for anyone. I'll take a De Los Santos. You know, I want one of these guys with a name. I'm not sure if the Lomachenko fight happened because of Bob, unless he'll be ready to cash Lomachenko out. But once again, man, the man has options. And I think that at this point in time, since he's already made the money and he is making the money, he's selling out gates and, you know, setting pay-per-view records and things like that. I think that now it's time for Tank himself to sit down and say, you know what? Yes, I want to make the most money. Because you're already in a bracket where people are going to buy the fight. Tank need to sit down and ask himself, when it's all said and done, when I hang it up a couple years from now, because he's 28, when I hang it up a couple years from now, am I going to look back and have any regrets on having the opportunity to be able to fight and what the people are going to say? Because they can say whatever they want. You're going to be rich and well off, and money shouldn't be a thing. Shouldn't be an issue unless something catastrophic happens. You know, we know that. But as a boxer, like when you sit down and you listen to some of these boxers and you ask them, do they have some regrets? And, you know, you often ask them, why this fight didn't happen? Why that fight didn't happen? Why this? And you'll actually hear it. Do some personal inventory and say, look, man, at this point in time, is there anybody that I can go ahead and step on the gas and push the envelope for and get on my resume? Because the fans are going to be fans. They're going to hate because of Floyd. They're going to hate because I don't think a lot of people really like the idea that a little dude from Baltimore that beats statistics and odds, because Baltimore is the heroin capital of the nation, that a guy from this area could blow up and be so big to where he's a household name. I don't think a lot of people like it. You're going to get a lot of undue hate. But at the end of the day, when you hang them up and you say it's all over, are you going to say, man, yeah, I should have went ahead and got rid of this guy, or yeah, I should have danced with this guy, or maybe I should have challenged myself and you know, and got in the ring with this guy. You know, that's where I stand with it. You know, I want to see him fight the best. I'm hearing that it's the Ice Out Cruz, and if it might be at the end of this year, or towards the end of this year, or maybe early next year. That's the recent reports and whatever I can see, because it's been kind of tight-lipped. Nobody really knows. Nobody really been saying a lot. A lot of the places where I normally go to watch the videos who actually have these interviews haven't really come out with much. You know, I can only think that, okay, well, he deserved a little time off. He gave us 2, you know, good fights. He gave us one with Ryan and one with Hector, who was a champion. You know, he knocked down and you know, stopped the hype all around Chris Colbert. You know, I heard Chris Colbert. I don't want to see Tank against Chris Colbert. You know, will we ever see a Mr. Gary Russell? I'm not sure. Is now the time for it? Possibly. You know, I would like to see, you know, Gary come back, have a fight, be actually in the weight class, you know what I'm saying, when he does it. But he has the greatness in him to where he could go to a division without ever having fought there because his skills have to pay the bills. He just needs to be healthy. But there's a lot of looming questions, a lot of dancing partners out here that Tank could grab a hold of, and anybody pretty much that Tank get in the ring, people are going to watch because he's made it to become an attraction, you know. And yes, he is a knockout artist. An attraction and a knockout artist, yes, but he's also a well-rounded boxer. And my last point on this is that a lot of people try to make it seem like it's a bad thing to actually become an attraction, when actually that's what pays the bill, that's what keeps the lights on. So when a lot of boxers lay their heads down and, you know, to rest or go home at night, they don't really have the kind of support, the health care, you know, many of the things that they had or should have because of the entertainment that they provide. I don't think money-wise Tank is going to have, you know, a problem. And if he decides to keep going, getting into the money, he just found himself where the algorithms of boxing have allowed him to be able to pretty much pick, choose, and refuse. It's a sad reality. As a die-hard fan, you got to deal with it. It's the same thing that we had to deal with Floyd. It's the same thing that we had to deal with Canelo. You know, but we got through it. And they still was able to demonstrate their greatness. So, just want to talk about TankDavis today. I would love to know, you know, who should he fight next? You know, before you come on all emotional or making all these crazy comments, you know what I'm saying? I'm asking as a real, from fan to fan, you know, or, you know, somebody that might not like him, or somebody that might want to see them fight their favorite fighter. Let me know in the comment section. Tell me what you think. You know what I'm saying? Who should TankDavis fight next? Are you happy? Are you satisfied with the ISOC cruise? You know, I mean, because at the end of the day, we should support a guy like this because of where he came from and what he's able to do and what he actually provides. You know, the actual experience and what you get when you buy a fight with Tank in it is going to be explosive. It's going to have everything in it. You know, beautiful people are going to come out and watch that fight. You know, there's going to be a lot of buzz around it. So you're getting the bang for your buck. But who would you like to be over there in that other corner going forward? That's the question. Anyways, thanks for everybody who, you know, stick with the channel, man. Thanks for the Spaniard, Delevator. Thanks for some of my regulars, you know what I'm saying? It's about time for me to do another according to my old heads. And I'm gonna put that out. I got anyways next move coming out, and I just been doing some catching up. But I also been taking a little break because right now the sport of boxing is acting real funny, man. It's real flip-floppy. I got them new flip-flops coming out. You know what I'm saying? For all these people that like to flip-flop, one day they believe this philosophy, next day they believe that philosophy. You know, I see a whole lot of just like everybody running for the Boots train now. Everybody done pick and chose between whether they riding with Boots or riding with Bud, and a lot of people done gave up on Spence, man. I'm still man down. I'm still strap season. I'm still ain't no safety on this Glock with Tank. I'm still Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth with Jamel Charlo. I'm Noya anyway. You know, it's a bunch of people. Bivol. I still got the guys that I actually rock with. I'm gonna support them, win, lose, or draw. That's just how we get down. And I'm also going to present information about them in a way that compliments them. You know, it's not until they do something really egregious. You know, I'm not going to dress them up in drag, you know, and have them on thumbnails and do all that kind of stuff that straight men really shouldn't do. I'm not going to do any of that, you know, but I am going to be real and say that as a fan, I want to see my favorite fighter fight this guy. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for tuning in here at BodyWorkBoxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.